Ladies and gentlemen, please rise with your applause as we warmly welcome to the stage the Managing Director of TundeLaniran Farms, Mr. Babatunde Olaniran.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the intro. I'd like to stand on the existing protocols also. Of course, I'm greeting all the speakers that have spoken, all the other guests that are here, and also a very warm welcome to the audience and everyone who has spent their time to come and listen to us today. Thank you so much. More importantly, also to the organizers, FarmDev, particularly Mr. Oluwatobi. Thank you so much for making the event possible and for giving me the opportunity to speak here. Do we have the slides? Okay. Okay. So today, as I said earlier, I'm happy to be here. And I'm going to be saying a few things about value addition and exports, particularly relating to the export market. The truth about value addition is that, what we really want to do is that we want to make more money from the same product, basically. That's what value addition is about. Can we, next slide? So my presentation today is going to be in two parts. The first part, I will be speaking about what value means, and that will be a little bit off from agribusiness, but I think it's important for us to establish what value is, the concept of value itself, and the type of philosophy that we should have as regards what value is. The second part of the presentation, I will be speaking more about the export side, particularly to some of the advantages, the challenges of exports as relating to our market in Nigeria today. My goal for today's presentation really is for us to be able to at least take, even if it's one or two things from, what I will be presenting today, hopefully something that we can act on, because I believe, we can spend the whole day talking and talking, but it is those that eventually act that will make something out of whatever it is that we're discussing today. So I will be very direct with my presentation today. Please, next slide, please. So, understanding the concept of value, as I mentioned for the first part, value addition really is simply about adding value. And in the context of business, value addition basically means, making your product or service better, for the satisfaction of your customers, and also for you to become, for better profitability of your business. That's really what the idea of value addition is about. And for the sake of this presentation today, I understand that there's different types of values. There's social values, there's moral values. I'm speaking strictly within the context of economics and business here. So just the money-making value, so that, we don't mistake where I'm coming from. So I want us to remember that not all value will turn into money. And I want us to also understand that the concept of philosophy of value is something that once we imbibe it, the process of us adding value to whatever we want to do, whether it is in agribusiness, whether it is just in any other business that we are engaged in, will be more feasible for us to do. Next one. So to create value, it's very important to spend your time properly. So I usually say that time is the currency of value, because even if you don't have any money, you don't have anything, what you can spend now is your time. Everybody has time. So, and the way you spend your time will go a long, long way in the type of value that you're going to be able to add. So we can't speak about adding value without talking about time. And what that means is that to add value, you must make use of time. And when you put good value into your time, you will be able to make money. And again, we're talking about business and economics here. And please pardon me, because of time, I'm trying to get through it as quickly as we can. So when you have high value inputs, and you add that to effective use of your time, you would gain profitability. Before we go to the next slide, I have a quick question I would like to ask the audience. Why would, if you have two people who work in the same place, literally have the same type of job, they spend the same amount of time doing that job, the same resource is also available to them while they are doing that job. But one person earns 500,000 naira a month, and the other person earns 1 million naira a month. Why? Does anybody know why that is happening, or why that will be happening? Anybody wants to? So the question is, two people work on the same job role, the same resources are available to them, they work the same amount of time, and even in the same company for that matter, but one person earns 500,000 naira a month, and the other person earns 1 million naira a month. Why is that happening, please? Well, that's one, attitude to the job. Please. Maybe they are solving more problem than the other person for the organization.
Their problem brings in more income. Whatever problem they are solving brings in more income compared to who is the person receiving 500K salary.
That makes sense. Thank you. Please, ma'am.
The creativity and the innovation the person is making, because if the person is creative and is solving problem, he has seen what the company actually lack. So the creativity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think all three responses are, please, you want to add something? Exactly. Thank you so much, too. So even the other three responses is similar. It's about value addition. So, next, okay. Yeah. So, so it's about value addition, really. And that's why I asked that question. The person making more money is the one that is adding more value to the company. And I think it's also important to know the type of value that you want to add, or what is actually important to your company. And of course, in our own case now, what is valuable to your customer. For instance, in some companies, somebody may be a good worker. They might be able to do all the financial papers and the Excels and all that, while another person might just be a good communicator, knows how to sell the product, knows how to rally people around. Of course, we can tell that one will be more valuable than the other person in that organization. So it's important to also know what is valuable where you are, in terms of if you're working in an organization, and what is valuable in terms of the product that you're also selling, what is valuable to your customer. This will help you know the level of addition of value that you want to include in that product. Therefore, compensation is a reflection of value provided and not just time that is spent. I have another question again. And this question is, hey, they already made the question open before I asked it. But anyways, the question there is why, if you're working 8 hours a day and you're making 50,000 naira in just one day, how do you increase your income to 100,000 naira working within the same amount of time frame? And just as the slide says, because the answer is already exposed anyway, it's about value too. If you want to increase the amount of money that you can make within the same amount of time, you need to increase the amount of value that you put within that time. It's just as simple as that, you know. So, you know, we're still speaking about the concept of value here. Economic progress is achieved when you increase the value you put in your limited amount of time. So, like I said previously, I wanted to establish a few things about the concept of value. And some of the things that I want us to take away from this first part of the presentation before we dive a little bit deeper into the export side is that for you to make more money, you must add more value in the marketplace. It's very, very important. And in order for you to add value, you must make the best use of your time. You know, it's not, I know, you know, we can want to spend our time doing this and doing that, but when you spend your time is not going to come back again. So it is very important if you want to add value to make the best use of your time. You can also get more money, but you can't get more time. That's a fact. And the important part for me is time is more valuable than money. I know a lot of people say time is money, time is money, time is money. I disagree with that. I think time is infinitely more valuable than money. And I hope that the time you are spending here today is going to bring some real value to you. So as we move into the next portion of the presentation, I'd like to tell a quick story. I was on a flight, this was a while ago, maybe sometime in 2019 or thereabout. Then I used to spend a lot of time living in California then. Is California a bad place? Anyway, let me finish. Okay. So I was on this flight from San Diego to San Francisco, and I sat beside this man, you know, a white man, maybe in his 60s or thereabouts. And, you know, maybe he took interest in me because, you know, this young guy is black. He said his wife is Moroccan. So maybe, you know. So and it was a 2 hours plus flight thereabouts. So there was there was some time for us to interact and all that stuff. So I was telling him about what I was doing. That was about the time when, you know, the whole idea of TundeLaniran Farms and everything had started brewing. And I was telling him about what I was doing. So my usual style, while we were close to people that live on Palm Island. And, well, I don't know if people know Florida here, but this is Palm Island, West Palm Beach. This is where the ultra-wealthy live. So I could tell that he was a very wealthy guy. So I asked him, I said, sir, if you are in my shoes now, what would you be doing with yourself? You know? And then he decided to tell me this story about when China was coming up in the early 80s, that he was one of the few people then amongst his group of friends and in the, that, could see that China was coming up and things like that. And what people like him started doing then was they would travel out to China. They would go and bring stuff from China down to America to sell. More like, export stuff from China to bring into America to sell. And he said he wouldn't lie to me. That was how he made his fortune. So he said, the truth about it now is that Africa, is the next frontier. But that people like him are already, older now. There's not much you can do. But that me being a Nigerian, he was talking to me that me being a Nigerian, that it's a huge opportunity for me. That whatever you can do, whatever you guys have in your soil, that you can produce from your soil, that you can get out of your soil, you can process it, just find a way of getting them shipped to the West and getting them sold. And, of course, he's talking about exportation here. So, the essence of me talking about this story is to reestablish the fact to us that there's a huge, huge opportunity in our hands for export. And, well, it's not going to be an easy job to export, but I think it's important for us to start speaking about it, telling ourselves about it, so that, whatever we can do to begin to harness the value that comes from exportation, I think we can start doing that. Next slide, please. Yes, next slide, please. Yeah, so, okay. I think we missed one slide, but anyways, in terms of the export, somebody can say you should go and bring all the bring natural resources, just like the man I met said, get natural resources from your land and export it to the West. But natural resource could be gold, could be crude oil, could be lithium, bitumen, could be anything. But where Agri comes in is because it has the lowest barrier for you to get into if you want to export. So for people like you, people like me, leveraging agri commodities or agri products for exports will be the easiest way for us to harness those export possibilities. And more importantly, we do have the quality. So I'll go to some of the competitive advantages that Nigeria has with export, just to mention a few. The quality of our products. And please, everything I'm saying today, I'm speaking from experience. There's nothing I'm talking about that I don't know what I'm saying about. So you can accept that you're hearing from somebody who is saying it exactly the way it is. The quality of our products, when it comes to the taste, the nutrients, the naturalness, if I'm allowed to use that word, compared to what we have in other places, we are way, way, way ahead. And I think we can leverage on the quality of what we have here, which is very, very important. We also have low labor and production costs. Of course, I'm not saying compared to our own last year. We know things have increased, but compared to those that are going to be doing the same thing, and I'm speaking strictly in the context of exporting to the Western world, Europe, United States of America, Canada, and the likes. Compared to the cost of labor there, you can't even compare. We still have that advantage here that we can process here and ship out there and still be able to sell at a very, very competitive price. We have abundance of fertile land here. I don't think I need to mention too much about that. Our climate, we have very good climatic conditions here. And more importantly, the young population that we have is something that is not spoken about too often, but there are many countries out there that don't even have a thriving young population, and I think we can take advantage of that with our exports. There's still a number of them, but those are just a few of the things I would like to mention. Next slide, please. And I'll speak now about the challenges, which for every positive, there's always a negative. Life comes in two sides. But I think some of the challenges that we have with exports in Nigeria are challenges that can be solved. I think one of those is poor quality control of our finished products. My own view about this is because when I mention the challenges, I'll try to speak a little bit about some of maybe solution, maybe 1, 2, so that we can have an idea of how to even approach those challenges. Poor quality control. I visit a number of factories here and there. Most times it's just a lack of patience. People do things in a rush. They don't take their time to get things done properly, and then you find out that the product, your final product has some dirt, has this and that. Just little things, and that has always been a problem. You see a lot of people try to export, their products get rejected or sent back. The other problem I know we have is also improper labeling of our products or incomplete labeling. So, and the labeling part is so important because your label is like the manual to your product. You're selling your product to someone who doesn't know you, who doesn't know your company. The first impression they're going to get about your product is your packaging. So it's very important that your package, and it's not just about the customers, even for the customs where your goods are going to pass through. If your products are not properly labeled, you're going to have challenges. My own personal experience with exports, as much as people say, oh, export is difficult, I've never had any problems exporting anything out of Nigeria. Never. And I think it's because everything is done properly. When you take your time to do things, you will get a very good result out of it. So labeling is also a key challenge. Access to market and customers. That's a big one because, without customers, without sales, you're not even in business. So, but I will speak some more about access to customers as we go on. Unhygienic processing equipment and techniques. Again, I just spoke about us having maybe impurities or deaths in the final product. Sometimes those things don't happen at the final stage. You would see that during the production process, the contaminations have been happening little by little. You go to some places, you see their grinding machine has dirt inside everywhere. Yeah, you see so these things have to be taken, we have to take full cognizance of these types of things. Then, of course, loss of interest in production and processing jobs. I know we have a lot of young people like myself here, but we know many people don't want to, do this type of jobs. I think, at least what I've seen people even prefer to earn lesser money, but I think they like to wear a tie, and I'm still not able to understand why, but I think it's also a problem. Then the final one, which I always like to talk about, is the inability to rally people around. In any business, and particularly in agribusiness, if you can't work with people, you're not going to survive. You can't even do it by yourself. How do you want to do it? Only you is going to do the farm work. Only you is going to harvest the cassava.